Taxonomy is the study of classification. Scientists classify living organisms for two main reasons. First, using a scientific name allows scientists to communicate in the scientific language of Latin, instead of using common names that vary by language. Secondly, classification allows scientists to determine the evolutionary relationships between different organisms. In order to classify organisms, scientists must place them into taxa, or levels of classification. The levels of classification are kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, and species. Each living organism is placed into a taxa, according to characteristics they share with other organisms in the taxa. For example, organisms in the same order share certain characteristics that are special to that order. Because the levels of classification are ordered from most general to most specific, two organisms in the same kingdom, which is the most general taxa, are the least similar, while two organisms in the same genus are the most similar. Each organism is also given a scientific name based on their classification. The scientific name for an organism is always comprised of its genus and species names. In a scientific name, the genus is capitalized and the species is not. All living things can be classified into 5 major kingdoms based on multiple things. The first category is the number of cells in each organism. Unicellular organisms only have one cell, while multicellular organisms have several cells. You can also classify living things by the type of cells they contain. Prokaryotes versus eukaryotes. So prokaryotes does not have a nucleus, remember pros mean no, and eukaryotes have a nucleus, and euks have nukes. Finally, you can also classify organisms based on how they obtain energy. If they are autotrophic, they make their own energy, while if they are heterotrophic, they must eat to obtain energy. Here are the 5 kingdoms that we will classify all living things into. The first kingdom is Kingdom Monera. In Monera, organisms are unicellular, they only have one cell. They are prokaryotic, meaning those cells only do not have a nucleus. And they are typically autotrophic, meaning that they make their own food. These are pictures of Monera. This is a textbook version of a bacteria. And this is bacteria grown on a petri dish. The next kingdom is Kingdom Protista. Protista is the weird kingdom that we throw everything else into that doesn't really belong anywhere else. They can be unicellular or multicellular, depending on the organism. They are eukaryotic, but they could also be autotrophic or heterotrophic. Some typical protists are algae, euglenas, and amoebas. Our next kingdom is the Kingdom of Fungi, which means they're really fun to be around. Fungi are multicellular, they have many cells, they are eukaryotic, they have a nucleus, and they are heterotrophic, meaning they use other organisms for energy. Fungi tend to be decomposers in our ecosystems. Some classic examples of fungi would be mushrooms, mold, and yeast. Look at this orange, doesn't it look delicious? Next, we have the kingdom of the plants. It is called Plantae. They are multicellular, eukaryotic, but they do photosynthesis, so they are autotrophic. Some examples of plants would be trees, ferns, flowers. There are many other plants. Name them if you want to. And last but not least, we have the kingdom Animalia, which stands for animal. They are multicellular, eukaryotic, and heterotrophic, meaning they have to eat to obtain their energy. Some animals would be insects, birds, fish, humans. Yes, humans are animals. They are under the classification Animalia.